We at the CPR Worldwide Media Network, your constitutional patriot radio station, would like to take a moment to reach out to a portion of our listening audience. To the NSA, the mainstream media, to liberals masquerading as conservatives who would like to see us off the air, and to those who are spinning their wheels trying to take us down, we have a special message just for you. At the CPR Worldwide Media Network, we're happy to be your 24/7, 365 obsession because, while you have your little panties in a wad, we're speaking truth to power, telling real conservatives what you don't want them to hear, the truth. And we're not gonna stop. Now then, back under your collective bridges with the rest of your fellow trolls, and oh yes, thanks for listening to CPR.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
SIDE Patriots on the CPR Worldwide Media Network.
We, the people.
And greetings on a Wednesday. It's Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot, along with Diane Sorey from the Patriot Factor, and you're listening to Right Side Patriots. And Diane, how are you today?
I'm really good. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm just cranking right along today. It's been a busy day. It's been a busy week, a busy weekend we had. I'll tell you what, folks. Diane and I are still trying to catch up from everything that went on over the weekend and on Monday and everything. But it's great to be here with you. It's great to have the show on the air again today. And Diane, we've got a great show planned for folks.
Absolutely. But first, I have to start the show with the official show starter. Crunch.
There's your bugles, ladies and gentlemen. When you hear the sound of the bugles, you know Right Side Patriots is on the air. And Diane is the bugle queen.
Absolutely. I love the bugles.
So do a lot of other people, Diane. You have put bugles back on the map.
I think so. They were kind of forgotten in the food aisle.
Well, you know what? On our show today, we have got a real special treat coming up for you. At 2:30 this afternoon Eastern Time, about a half an hour from now, we'll be joined by Wild Bill for America, our good friend Bill Finley. And Diane, we've got Wild Bill's evil liberal twin coming on at the same time.
Yes, Greg Hansen. And he has a website called WildBillForAmericaSucks.com. So it should be interesting. We're going to be doing a Hannity-Combs style debate, and Craig and I will be the moderators. So you're in for a good time.
What could possibly go wrong with you and I as moderators?
Go wrong.
Well, this is going to be interesting, folks, because we're going to let Wild Bill and the anti-Wild Bill go head-to-head on several different topics and see where they are on the topics. So we'll get into that in about a half an hour. Meanwhile, now, I got to say, Diane, that our moderate Muslim, our intern, Mohammed Hussein Obam, has pre-sent the issues of the day over to us, our hot list of 4 items today. He's apparently in bomb-making class or something at this point.
Dear.
I don't know what he's doing, and really nobody knows what the guy is doing. But today, folks, is going to be a Muhammad-free show unless Diane wants to imitate him.
Well, I can't really do that. I think you're better at that than me. But, at least he was conscientious enough to send us over our program.
If he was here today, he would be saying, and then we would have our list of stuff. But Diane, I've got it right here in my hand.
Yeah, he was. He sent it over with the that camel with the rockets on it.
The intercontinental ballistic camel.
The intercontinental ballistic camel. You got it.
Oh my goodness! Well, look! Guess what's right on top of the list today? The plane.
The plane. I mean, what would be a show without the plane?
Of course, we're talking about Flight 370 out of Malaysia that has been missing now for more than 2 months. And as deep as they go in the Indian Ocean, they can't find hide nor hair nor seat cushion of this thing.
Not a thing. And you know what's odd about this plane? This particular plane had over 300 flights, over 3,000 hours in the air, 4.6 million square kilometers of ocean is what they're looking for this plane. They're still over the ocean. They haven't gotten it out of their heads yet that, hello, maybe the plane didn't go down in the ocean.
Well, I still say they should be looking on land.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I meant.
I mean, there's 600 and some odd airfields that dot little islands around the Indian Ocean, and a lot of those are big enough to land a 777. And there's also more inland airports, places where they could have gone, places where they could have landed, and for that matter, Diane, places where it could have crashed.
Exactly. And you know what's so funny about all this? Now they're deciding that they're going to reanalyze all the data, re-look at all the satellite information. In other words, folks, they don't have a clue what they're doing or where to look.
It's been 2 months. 2 months since the thing went missing, and now they're going to reanalyze the data?
Yes, that's the newest thing as of a couple of hours ago. The Australian, Malaysian, and Chinese officials will meet next Wednesday to hash out what they're going to do next. They don't have a clue what they're doing.
Oh, my God. Well, obviously, we're going to continue to bring you the plane updates as we go through and see what they're going to do next, because obviously, like Diane said, they don't know what they're going to do next. But Diane, the plane isn't the only thing missing today.
No, very odd. The crack-smoking mayor of Toronto has gone missing. Did you know that, Craig?
I saw it on the list today, and I thought, oh, my God, how do you lose something that size?
I don't know. That would be like, last week when Chris Christie washed up on shore with the whales. How do you lose something like this? You can't lose this man.
Well, here's what's happened, folks. Now, Rob Ford the other day was once again caught on video looking like he was smoking a crack pipe. He was all looped up. I mean, it's hard to tell when he's not looped up, by the way. But it looked like he was high as a kite, and he was smoking a crack pipe again. So he decided that enough was enough. He told his brother Doug, or who he calls Dougie, that this is enough. I'm going to go get help. I'm going to go to rehab. So he gets on an airplane in Toronto, and he flies to O'Hare Airport in Chicago. Now, for whatever reason, he never got off the plane in Chicago. Now, we don't know if it's because he simply changed his mind or because U.S. officials said, oh, no, we got enough problems in Chicago. We don't need the crack-smoking mayor of Toronto.
No, I mean, we got enough weirdos up in Chicago and Illinois in general. I mean, come on, that's Obama land, the land of the loons, the lands of crazies. We don't need, a Canadian one entering also.
So supposedly, Rob Ford then, staying on the plane, went back to Toronto. He has not been seen since, but apparently we've now at least heard something from him. However, we have no idea where the crack-smoking mayor of Toronto is. We don't know for sure if he's in rehab, but Diane, he said he is?
He said he is. Apparently his brother has issued a statement that not only is he in rehab, but get this one, I will be back on the ballot for mayor in October. Guaranteed, and I will do well. This guy isn't just a crackhead, he's delusional.
Well, now here's the choice that folks in Toronto have, and we're really sorry about this, but there's nothing we can do about it. He's going to be on the ballot. The crack-smoking mayor of Toronto will be on the ballot in October, and it looks like a porn actress is also going to be on the ballot, running against him.
Well, he's going to lose then, because she's got the guy vote right up front.
Well, right up front. Yeah, there's a good way to put it.
I didn't even think of that, but okay.
Well, my mind's in the gutter, so yeah, I thought of it. But
yeah.
that looks like it's going to be the battle of the century in Toronto. Are you going to elect a crack-smoking mayor for another term, or will you go with the porn actress?
Well, the porn actress could have a brain, too. I mean, it is possible.
I'm not ready to say that. I'm not ready to go there on that. But
you could have bimbos with brains.
According to Dougie, and this is the crack-smoking mayor's brother, Dougie, he says that his brother, Rob, told him that being in rehab is fantastic and that it reminds him of being at football camp.
Okay, I'd like to know what kind of football camp. I mean, there was some alluding to the Washington Redskins that he went to as a kid, but I don't see the connection, really.
I fail to understand what this guy is saying. Apparently, he has not been in rehab long enough if he's there at all.
If he's there at all, that's the key.
And I don't think he is. Diane, you have a theory about the plane. Your theory about the plane is what?
My funny theory is that, and I don't mean to make light of the plane, but it entered some kind of space-time continuum because, hello folks, not one piece of debris from this plane has been found. Now it could be because obviously they're looking over water and the plane is in some hangar in the 600 airstrips being retrofitted for its flight into Tel Aviv and they're not looking for it, or it's gone lost. Pun intended. It's on the island where Lost is.
Okay, so that's Diane's theory on the plane. Here's my, here's my theory on where the crack-smoking mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford, is. You ready for this, Diane?
Sure go. Shoot it.
I think he's hanging out with Randy Quaid.
Hey, you know what? Throw Lindsay Lohan in there and you got a jolly threesome.
Well, here's the thing. Randy Quaid took off and went hiding up in Canada because he said the Hollywood star whackers were out to get him. Mm-hmm. And, this was after they messed up a hotel room. They got caught squatting in somebody's guest house back in California, all this stuff. So he went up there. He applied apparently a year ago in January of 2013 for permanent status, permanent citizenship or the ability to live permanently in Canada. And the government of Canada, showing common sense, said no. But nobody has seen Randy Quaid since January of 2013. So my guess is that Rob Ford and Randy Quaid are sharing a guest room somewhere, and whoever's guest room that is has no idea that they are even in the house.
Oh, isn't that happy? Isn't that happy? Poor Canada. I send Canada my condolences.
Well, and I wish them well come October in their election. But, geez, what a choice. And look, maybe Randy Quaid can get a job in the Toronto mayor's office somewhere.
Ah, that's a good one. He could be the gopher.
Be like Cousin Eddie takes Toronto, I don't know. But looking down the list, Diane, we've got, this is kind of a stunner that she actually made the list today, but Monica Lewinsky is on our quick hitters list.
Oh, yes. The blue dress has come back to haunt.
She's got a new book out, Diane. It's called Shame and Survival.
Yes. But you know something? In a way, you kind of have to feel sorry for her because, when this happened, all the wagons were circled around to protect Clinton, who lied about having the affair with her. And folks, it went on for 3 years, who lied about having the affair with her. And she was the one that was dumped on. She was the one, bad girl, the one that was ostracized. Her life has been ruined. While Billy Boy has come out smelling like an angel. The impeachment was nothing but a slap on the wrist. He and Hillary have separate lives, but, Hillary keeps thinking they're going to reunite in the White House and Billy Boy will help her run the country, heaven forbid. But Monica was kind of a victim in all of this.
Oh, come on. Really? A victim? Nobody had her chained up underneath the desk. She crawled under that presidential desk of her own accord.
I don't mean a victim. No. I don't mean a victim in what she did. I mean, she has been victimized by the press 16 years later. They're still on her. This was a young girl infatuated with the President of the United States. Yeah, she did some nasties to him in the Oval Office, which in and of itself is, disgusting. This is the Oval Office. But these were two consenting adults. But her life is the one that's gone in the toilet, while Billy's gone on to all this, fame and fortune.
So it's our fault because Lewinsky is now used as a verb?
No, it's media's fault that Lewinsky is used as a verb. It's not our fault. I mean, you got to look at it also from put yourself in the place of being a young girl as an intern for the President of the United States. You are so infatuated, maybe not so much with the man, but with the power. Well, you could be manipulated. You can be manipulated to do things you might not normally do. She did consent freely of her own free will. So she absolutely has blame. But did she deserve this 16-year lynching by the media while the man who encouraged it and egged it on gets away scot-free? No, I don't believe so.
Well, here's the theory, and this was floated last night by Lynn Cheney. And she said she wonders if this isn't kind of a ploy by the Clintons to get this out in the open, get Monica Lewinsky over and done with so they can say as they move towards 2016, look, this is old news, forget about it. We're past it. It's water under the bridge. It's an intern under the desk. No longer is this a story. So maybe Lynn Cheney is onto something here.
She could very well be, because remember, this is a hallmark of the Republican administration. They want something to go away. That happened a long time ago. Case in point, Benghazi. 2 years ago? What does it matter? It was 2 years ago. This they love to do, not understanding that they made these stories. They fabricated the lies that went along with these stories. Well, guess what? Now they're being called to task.
Well, I agree. And, look, even if this did take place all the way back in the Clinton administration, it still speaks to the morality of the Clintons. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, what does Hillary have to do with it? Well, the fact is, when all this finally broke, after the finger wagging and I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Monica Lewinsky, and all that, when it finally came out that he did and that he left some telltale signs on a blue dress that never made it to the dry cleaners, then Hillary comes out and stands by her man.
Yes.
Now, I've got a problem with that. I think if a woman's husband goes out and does something like that, why she comes out and stands with him at that point rather than just slapping him across the face and walking out. is beyond me. But in Hillary's case, it's because she had further ambitions politically.
Exactly. They were basically living apart even before the Lewinsky affair. They had bought a house. Even before she became senator, they had bought a house in upstate New York. She spent time in Washington. She spent time in New York. He was in Washington. They had a marriage of convenience, basically, and that convenience was political and monetary.
Well, and
by
it still is.
staying married to him, she could get that money in.
And it still is. I mean, even though she, became a senator, and a lot of people accused her of being a carpetbagger in New York,
yes,
because that's not really where they were from. She had just moved to New York, runs for Senate, gets elected. She did it on the name,
yes,
not based on any, well-doing or political savvy. She just did it on the name. Then she becomes Obama's Secretary of the State of Disaster.
right.
And we all know what happened in Benghazi. Her greatest claim to fame, literally, is flying 1 million miles.
Yes.
Now she's got political ambitions for the White House, which means Bill will move back into the White House if she gets elected, and we're going to work like heck not to let that happen.
Absolutely.
But it's all based on the Clinton name and the Clinton aura. Meanwhile, Billy Boy is out running around, beating the bushes in the campaign trail and raising money for all these other liberals. So he's still a viable part of the Democratic machine.
Of course he is. And let's be honest. She goes back. She does win the White House. Let's just play devil's advocate. If she does win the White House, guess who's really going to be pulling her strings? It's going to be Billy Boy again. The man who did nothing when the Cole was attacked, who did nothing when the first 9/11 bombing happened. Come on, guys. This is bad all the way around.
Well, and Diane, it's not the last thing on the list, and we've got just a few minutes left here, and this one has my interest.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Now, this story came out of France, and apparently this happened, last fall, 5-6 months ago, 7 months ago?
It happened 6 months ago, but the adjudication at the hearing just happened 2 days ago.
So now it makes the news because they had a court hearing on this.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the story. Some guy over in France, I think he's from South Africa, and he goes over to Paris and decides to do a little performance art, right?
Yes.
Now, he's near the Eiffel Tower, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got his manhood hanging out of his pants. And tied to his manhood with a ribbon is a what?
A rooster. And he did it because the rooster is the symbol of France.
So this idiot, this goes to show you that there are liberal idiots everywhere, folks. This idiot travels from South Africa to Paris so that he can tie a rooster to a ribbon and attach the other end of it to his cock-a-doodle-doo.
But he called it performance art. This was performance art, folks. So the adjudication was that he was charged with sexual exhibitionism, but he's not fined, he's not jailed, he's not anything. And the best part was, this was his statement after the adjudication, quote, "In showing the most intimate part of me, I'm saying I'm male, I'm Jewish, I'm queer, I'm white." End quote. God help us all.
Oh, man. Like we may not have known at least half of that just by the fact the guy showed up with a rooster. Apparently the only thing I can think of, the reason they didn't actually throw this guy in jail or fine him or whatever, was that during the performance art apparently only lasted a few minutes before the cops got on this guy.
Yes.
But apparently, I'm guessing the only reason they didn't actually fine him or give him jail time for this was because he never actually choked the chicken.
No, he didn't choke the chicken. I mean, the chicken was humanely tied. I mean, just picture this, folks. A man in the streets of Paris with a chicken tied to his you-know-what.
There are some weird people in Paris. Let me tell you, there are just some strange people in Paris, and even they were looking at this guy like, what the hell?
Absolutely. But, you know, he has done this before. Back in South Africa, when they were tearing down a squatters camp in Johannesburg, he walked in wearing an illuminated chandelier tutu and started doing a toe dance. The guy is nuts, folks.
Literally. First of all, where in the world do you get a lit up chandelier tutu?
He must have had a hell of a long extension cord.
Apparently,
What bothers me about all this? Where does our intern get these stories from?
You know, look, he's a moderate Muslim. He's living in the mountains of Tora Bora. It must be very, very lonely there. That's all I'm saying. But, you know, the mental image of what this must have been like under the Eiffel Tower. I mean, you know, first of all, can we say the guy had tower envy?
Could be. I mean, and this was right on Trocadero Plaza. I mean, this is one of the main thoroughfares in Paris, folks. Oh, God, it just gets happier and happier. But you know what? This is a good segue into what's going to be another great half an hour with Bill and his evil twin.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we're looking forward to that. It's going to start happening here in just a few minutes, folks, so don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with Wild Bill and his evil liberal twin on Right Side Patriots right here on the CPR Worldwide Media Network.
Dad, Katy Perry is coming to town. Can we get tickets, please?
Tickets? Sure. How many?
Well, there's Hannah and Maddie and Jen and Sarah and Sarah.
Whoa, hold on. Here it comes. We can't forget about your older sister.
Thank you.
Seriously? What? I get 2 times the thank you points on each ticket. Can I come? Yeah.
The City Thank You Preferred Card. Now earn 2 times the points on entertainment and dining out with no annual fee. To apply, go to city.com/thankyoucards.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Son, you gotta work late. Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do, but there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. Well, my mama and papa told me, son, you gotta make some money. If you wanna use a car to go riding next Sunday. Well, I didn't go to work. The car, cause you didn't work her leg. Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do, but there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. too young to vote. Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do, but there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. Yeah. I said there ain't no cure for the summertime blues. Yeah.
And we're back on Right Side Patriots. Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot, Diane Sori from the Patriot Factor, along with our really, really, really good friend, Wild Bill Finley for America. Wild Bill, how are you today?
Hey, doing good. Thanks for having me back again.
And you know who else we've got on the phone right now? We have got your evil liberal twin, Greg Hansen, on the phone. And Greg, are you there with us today?
Yes, I'm here. I don't know about evil twin, but yes, I'm here with you guys.
Well, what else can you say for yourself, Greg? I mean, you're a liberal. You're wrong on almost everything. You're going to blame everything today on conservatives or the Bush administration. What else do we need to know about you?
Well, that's a very preemptive assumption that you're making on my part, which is actually not going to be completely true. I will disagree on certain things where it makes sense to disagree, and I'll agree where it makes sense to agree. And to write me off as a complete liberal is incorrect, but you will not know that until you'll hear me speak further.
Oh, okay. Now, Bill, you've actually...
Is that a fair answer?
That's a fair answer. We're going to moderate this Hannity and Combs style, or should we say presidential debate style. So we might jump in parts that you really don't want us to jump in with, but, go with the flow. Bill, it's all yours.
I need to tell you guys how I met up with Greg. I've been doing Wild Bill for America videos for some time now, and I do have a cutting edge to my videos. I believe in hard-hitting political commentary. Well, Greg launched a counter site called WildBillForAmericaSucks.com. And I decided to have fun with it. I put out a video saying, look at this, I'm somebody now. And Greg actually contacted me shortly after that and said that if the site really bothered me, he would take it down. But I told him, no, let's have some fun with it. Let's talk things over and get some discussion going. And he called into a show that I was on elsewhere, and we had a little debate on the Benghazi issue. So Greg is a man who doesn't have the same ideas that I do, but he can certainly articulate his views, and I think we ought to give him a chance to say his say.
Absolutely. Who knows? We could have a blue dog Democrat on the line.
Well, let's go ahead and start with that. Let's start with Benghazi, and this latest round of released emails really shows that the whole YouTube video debacle came directly from the Oval Office, directly from the highest up advisor to Obama there is out there right now, other than Valerie Jarrett, and that's Ben Rhodes. So, right now it looks like the cover-up is emanating from the Oval. And what say you, Greg?
I was saying is it's preemptive to really say that that's actually the case. There is some evidence to indicate that talking points were altered before they were given to the public. And I say that while if that's the case, we really need to uncover that, it's also foolish of us to feel that talking points haven't been given for situations that have occurred similar to this in the history of our country forever, dating back from World War I to Vietnam to current things that are happening now. The difference now is communication is so advanced and so quick that when something comes out, it gets exposed right away because of the internet and things like that. But to say that this is just a complete scandal where President Obama told people to ignore, or Hillary Clinton or whoever told people to ignore these people that were looking for help and to put them to their deaths, I really don't think something like that happened. That hasn't been proven to be the case. I think some incompetence and false communication and bad communication are the causes of this horrible thing, and whoever's responsible for that needs to pay. But to just say that this administration came up with a cover-up came up with a plan to kill Americans, I think is an unfair statement.
Now, Bill, he says this is all bad communications.
Well, it's documented that at least 3 times the people in Benghazi called for help, and the military say they were told to stand down by the White House. What do you say about that?
And if that's the case, that really has to come to light. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's been said. What information? The problem is that all of us, your side and my side, are commenting on the information that we're given. And that's what makes this situation very challenging to really comment on in an intelligent level.
I have a question for both of you, and I don't care which one of you answer first, but this is serious. I was the first, before even Fox News said it, that Benghazi was a cover-up for Barack Hussein Obama smuggling the leftover weapons from Libya through Benghazi to Turkey to the al-Qaeda-backed rebels in Syria. That is a fact that the al-Qaeda-backed rebels do have our weapons. Hence, there's some validity to what I'm saying. I am also saying that Ambassador Stevens found out and was going to expose Obama as a traitor to this country. I believe that Christopher Stevens was a targeted kill, and that the other 3, Sean Smith, Glenn Dougherty, and Tyrone Woods, were collateral damage. They were given, the troops that wanted to come in and help were indeed given an order to stand down. That pretty much has been proven because none of the generals from AFCON have said they gave it. None of the admirals at sea gave it. No one in the State Department gave it. That only leaves, according to the chain of command, one person that could have given that order, and that is the President of the United States. Now, if this is proven, and I believe that Trey Gowdy will find truth to this, if this is proven, Barack Hussein Obama needs to be in Gitmo awaiting adjudication for treason. What say you, Bill? And then Greg.
Well, we are making a lot of assumptions, and there's a lot of suspicious activity. I am concerned that apparently no investigation has been effectively started by the White House. It's been, 18 months now, and not a single person has been arrested. Many of the witnesses have not been interviewed. The witnesses are being hidden from the investigative committee that the Republicans want to put forth. And it appears that many in the White House are just hiding from this issue. And I'm thrilled that finally there's going to be a legitimate investigation headed up by Trey Gowdy. I think John Boehner, his authorization of it just prior to the primary election shows that I think he was running scared that the Americans were finally getting fed up with his stonewalling, so he flip-flopped in fear of losing his job. So anyway, I say open the doors and let the truth out. Greg, what do you say?
What I say is, if they had a plan to get rid of him the way you said, I would hope and think that we are capable of doing it in a much better, more clandestine way than that. If he's going to try to take somebody out in just a public way, that's really poor planning, and that's really a poor way to do it. So I would think that if they really wanted to do some devious thing to take somebody out to cover up some kind of weapons scandal, they do it in a much more clandestine and quiet way. So I really have to question that theory. I do agree that we do need to have further explanation as to what happened. And I do think talking points were modified more than they should have been. And I do think that has to come out. I do agree with that part. But the scandal, as Wild Bill said, it's a lot of assumptions.
It's a lot of assumptions.
Greg?
Well, it's a lot of assumptions, but more and more of the big hitters are now agreeing that this was a guns and weapons running operation. It's been on the news that many of them, Charles Krauthammer came to that assumption months ago. Some of the others also did, some of the big hard hitters on the conservative side. They have yet to come out and say a targeted kill, but it's been alluded to on quite a few of the news stations. I really wouldn't discount that so fast.
Greg,
I guess
I want to make a serious point here. I want to get an answer from Greg on this. Our soldiers and Marines are locked in combat against Al-Qaeda terrorists and other Islamist groups in Afghanistan. If the Benghazi investigation reveals that the White House was involved in funneling arms to Al-Qaeda, our terrorist enemies, while our troops are fighting them, what action do you think should be taken against the White House?
If something like that can be proven, that would be the biggest scandal, at least of my short lifetime, which is 45 years. So absolutely, that would. I don't know anyone, left or right, who could argue with a case like that. You know, I don't know. So
and yet the Democrats are.
Okay, hang on, Greg. I'm going to ask you to turn your computer speakers down, or shut off the radio feed coming to you, because we're getting quite an echo back here. It's like talking to into a cave at this point.
Yeah, I don't have a phone.
Okay. We were just getting a weird echo back. It's kind of like when I have to call our moderate intern Muhammad over in the cave in Tora Bora. It echoes. It's really annoying. It's almost as annoying as he is, to be honest with you.
That's funny. It's not me though. I don't think so.
Okay, so you're saying if it is proven that the United States government was shoveling weapons to Al-Qaeda-backed terrorists in Libya, that the outcome of that should be treason and a trial for treason?
Well, I would assume so, because I don't think that's a left or right issue. That's a right or wrong issue. So
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, then here's the evidence that we have so far. We know that the rebels in Libya were backed by Al-Qaeda. We know that they were Ansar al-Sharia, which is Al-Qaeda's name in Libya. We know that Obama led from behind. We know that our weapons were given to them in the effort to oust Gaddafi from power, which became successful. We then know that that this administration was trying to find a way to give weapons to Al-Qaeda-backed terrorists in Syria. So we know these things are facts. We were fighting Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan at the time. We still are. That makes them our enemy at a time of war. Therefore, this administration was arming and aiding and abetting our enemy in a time of war.
Basically what I said.
You're asking me under the assumption that every fact you're saying is true. And of course, if every fact you're saying is absolute truth, then something that's a really bad scandal, and appropriate actions have to be taken for something that of magnitude. Absolutely. I don't think any liberal would take the side of arming. Who would say that?
Okay.
Who would agree with that?
Now let me ask you.
John Kerry is on the side of the enemy. Barack Hussein Obama is on the side of the enemy. Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, the list goes on and on. These people are traitors to our country.
What do you mean when you say they're on the side of the enemy?
What do I mean by that? Let's see. We can start with stabbing our ally Israel in the back. We can move on to Obama's vacillation is going to get Iran the nuclear bomb. It's going to get Putin taking over all the countries that fell out of the original Soviet Union. It just goes on and on and on and on down the line.
Well, you're starting a different conversation now.
Well,
you brought up the question. You asked me.
What we're talking about is weak leadership. I do believe there's evidence that Mr. Obama aligns himself with the Islamists more than he does the freedom people, but I think it could just be weak leadership. Now, my concern with this Benghazi thing is that Trey Gowdy, the guy that's going to head up the investigation, is going to sail right into a crap storm of lies generated by the Democrats trying to hinder the investigation. I think Nancy Pelosi is already gearing up to do a Ken Starr on Trey Gowdy.
I think you're right.
Greg, what do you think? Do you think Trey Gowdy is going to run a, let's call it a fair and unpartisan investigation into this, or do you think he is going to be completely partisan and not be fair?
I would hope, for the sake of the type of country that we are, that he is capable and able to conduct enough investigation. Because I do agree that the entire shooting is criminal. But it's difficult. And like I said, us as the public and commenters can only comment based on the information we're given. So it's difficult. But I hope he can give a good investigation. Absolutely.
Okay, it's hope, but you're not convinced that he will.
I'm not. I don't know. I can't answer that with certainty and fortitude. So you're right. I don't know.
Okay, so you don't take his past into account, his capabilities as one of the foremost prosecutors appointed by Bill Clinton. You don't take his record in the House of Representatives into any account. You're just saying you hope he can, but you don't know if he can.
Well, to be honest, I'm not fully up to date on his past, so I would just be guessing, and I'd rather give a solid comment based on my knowledge. But I really don't have enough knowledge about his past to give you an accurate answer.
Okay, so
my question for Greg is this. If indeed the Benghazi probe starts to reveal damaging evidence towards the Obama administration and the Democrats go on the war path trying to shut down the investigation, how can we get people on the left to stand up and say, no, this investigation needs to go through? What can we do about that, Greg?
The truth has to come out, for sure. And I think that any side, whether it's left or right, has to just step back and let the investigation happen and occur at its natural pace. But it's a very difficult thing in Washington because, each side, whenever there's an investigation with something like this, each side with their agenda is going to try and make their point of view the correct point of view, which isn't always necessarily the case.
So are you going to call Nancy Pelosi and tell her to sit down and shut up for us?
And if she doesn't sit down and shut up, are you going to put up a website, nancypelosisucks.com?
I tried. Somebody over reserved a domain name, so I couldn't.
Well, there you go, Bill. You beat him to a domain name. How about that?
But let's, I'd like to know from the liberal side, in all seriousness, this president has a record of apologizing for America, of not honoring our military, of not honoring our vets. This president has a record of stabbing our allies in the back. How can you not say that his loyalties do not lie with the jihadis and the Islamists? His loyalties obviously do not lie with America or the American people. And after that, after we have a go around on that, I'd like to find out what you think about this disaster known as Obamacare.
Okay. All right. I think this is typical right-wing talk where you either have one or the other. So to say that he's not supportive of one thing means that he's just supporting terrorists and wants to destroy our country. I think it's insane to really talk like that. And I think that this right-wing rhetoric is what is causing more divisiveness than anything else in this country, than anything else. And listen, the far left is no better, all right? They're insane too. But nobody takes them seriously because they're nuts, right? But the far right is just, it seems to be more polarizing than anybody else.
But that's liberal rhetoric. What you just said, the far right seems to be more polarizing than anybody else. That's the liberal rhetoric. That's the mainstream media spitting that out to the American people.
you know, excuse me one second. The mainstream media reports just as bad news about Obama as anybody else. CNN reports bad things about Obamacare and everything else, just like everybody else. They're not a mouthpiece for Obama, and to suggest that is insane. Maybe MSNBC goes off to the side, but let's take them out of the picture. The rest of the country is just not fully supporting him. They report just as much bad news about him as anybody else does.
Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. Right there, Bill, your evil twin, who at this point I think is equally as nutty as a squirrel turd in an empty box of goobers, is saying that the mainstream media is reporting bad things about Barack Hussein Obama and has been for the last 5 years. Now, I've got to have your take on this, Bill.
Oh, man. Well, if the only thing you listen to is the mainstream media, it may seem that way because if Greg has only listened to the mainstream media, he would not have heard 90% of the Obama scandals. But he would have heard a little bit here and there about how Obama has let down the left by not being far left enough. So I assume that's where Greg is coming from on this.
And Greg, are you watching cartoons in the background? I keep hearing like a TV. It sounds like cartoons, and I'm starting to get the idea that you're more into the cartoons than you are into doing homework on the topics.
he's got two little kids.
Very nice. You caught me in the middle of vacation, so I'm taking a couple of moments as I'm walking through Epcot to comment on this. So,
you're at Epcot. Okay. Yeah, kind of fantasy land there. Yeah. It's not much of a vacation. It's just a change of venue for you, is what you're saying.
Oh, boy. Yes, I live in a fantasy land, and I don't know anything that's going on. And I listen to the mainstream media, and I follow CNBC, and Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow are my idols. Is that what you're saying?
Well, at least you admit it.
No, they're not.
Well, let's be fair here, guys. On some issues, he is willing to listen to the facts as they're presented. So we can't totally say he's a libertard. He might be, have swallowed the Kool-Aid, but maybe, with some facts being presented, he'll regurgitate that Kool-Aid.
So what you're saying, Diana, is that he hasn't swallowed all of it, but he is gargling with some of it.
Exactly. A lot of it. Gargling with a lot of it.
Well, why? I'm gargling because I don't think he's a terrorist supporting the jihad. So that makes me the complete opposite side?
No, none of us said that. No. None of us said that. You see, that's the problems. The liberals do not listen to what we say. You just twisted our words completely. Nobody said he was a jihadi or a terrorist. What we said was he sides with the jihadis and the terrorists. There's a big difference there.
See, Greg, I told you she has fangs.
Yeah, well, I have my own issues with Obama, absolutely. And, Bill made a good point, is that, he's a little bit of a weak leader, and he should come out stronger on issues, and he doesn't stand up enough for himself. And I happen to agree with that point. But do I think he's out to destroy the country and destroy our way of life and the liberal agenda to destroy America? No. I mean,
Greg, I don't
think.
In a word, Obamacare. In a word, Obamacare. This man has destroyed our top-rated medical industry with the nightmare known as Obamacare. What do you say about that?
Top-rated medical industry? Really?
Everyone who was seriously ill in the world who could afford it would come to the United States for treatment because our medical industry was the top in the world. He has single-handedly, along with every single Democrat in the Congress, passed a nightmare of a health care plan that is destroying not only the healthcare industry, but all the adjunct industries that go along with it. What do you say about Obamacare?
I think Obamacare is a major piece of legislation that went through and that tried to address a very complex issue. And there's no way you can pass a law this quickly, this fast, and have it work efficiently right off the bat. It's a very complicated issue.
He's had 5 years. He's had 4 years now. It got passed in 2010. It's a nightmare in 2014. That's right. 4 years.
And it's a very, very, and that shows you the complexity of the issue that we're dealing with. And it's not just he. He is just not representative of all Obamacare. He didn't even write the whole law. It was written by hundreds of people, but hundreds of pieces of input. And in its implementation, it's a very difficult thing to implement. All right? Now, what's happening is everybody is just so against it that whenever there's a problem, no one is going to look to see what we can do to adjust the law to make it work. What they're doing is just vilifying every single problem with it. All right? There are good aspects of it. You can't block people that have previous health conditions. No, there are good aspects of it. There are bad aspects of it that have to be corrected. But everyone is just so hell-bent, like you guys, on vilifying him for trying to put something through that I don't see how. I'm amazed it got as far as it did.
I'm amazed it did too. But Bill, what do you say about Obamacare? Because I know you've looked into this, and I know you've researched this.
I am really confused about why America's healthcare needs to be taken over by bureaucrats. Like Greg said, it's a complicated issue. Why should our healthcare not be run by the healthcare professionals who know best?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, on that 15-minute. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Why? Because there are tons of people who walk into emergency rooms and use that as their health care. And who's paying for that? You're paying for it. I'm paying for it. And we're all paying for it. All right? Because there are people that are not responsible enough to get insurance. All right? And part of Obamacare is about responsibility and about having insurance. And
so mandating responsibility is now the name of the game.
So sometimes you have to. I mean, you drive a car. Do you have insurance on it?
Excuse me. Yeah, we're still paying for Obamacare. I don't know if you bothered to read the groundbreaking article that I wrote about how in Obamacare is a manipulation of the pharmacies so they can charge anything they want to make up the difference that Obama did not get in his signups. He claims he had 8 million people signing up. Yeah, he had 8 million people perusing the site. Only 30% of those paid their first premium, the thing that's needed to keep Obamacare afloat. So how is he paying for it? He's jacking up the drug prices. He's jacking up the co-payments. Obamacare, in a word, sucks. And that's a word you use, so I'm going to use it. Obamacare sucks from top to bottom. Obamacare needs to be repealed in full and rewritten by the people that know about medicine, the doctors, the nurses, the people that are in the adjunct industries with them, not the 15 fat cat DC bureaucrats he has who will decide who will get treatment, who won't get treatment, who will not get medicine, who will get medicine, who won't have surgery, who will have surgery. I just went through it personally with a friend of mine, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, Obamacare sucks.
I guess it depends who you ask, right? Because Ted Cruz went on his Facebook page and asked who's better off, and he got tens of thousands of responses by people who gave detailed reasons as to why they're better off now before the law passed.
And they can match.
So I guess it's who you talk to, right?
No, they can match 5-to-1 people that have had nightmare experiences. I would rather be without insurance than go on that crap.
Really?
My concern is that
my private insurance, no matter how much I have to pay per month, because I'm not going to have Obama and his fat cat bureaucrats telling me what I can do with my body as far as my medical care or my family's medical care.
Bill,
Doctors decide along with me and my family, not Obama.
I want to get Bill in here for the last word because we gave Greg Hansen the first word on this segment of the show. So, Bill, I'm going to let you close this out in just a couple of minutes we have left in this segment.
My major concern with Obamacare is that for the first time in American history, the federal government has positioned itself in a place where it can withhold medical treatment from anybody they choose to. And this seems to be a pattern of the left. Domination and control, whether it's our water, the cars we drive, the food we grow, and now our medical care. And this, to me, has sinister overtones. What are they going to require us to do in the future in order to be eligible for medical care? Greg, any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm personally not affected by Obamacare because I've had health insurance for my family, and I just don't qualify for it. And I actually think it's not the majority of the population that's even going to be affected by Obamacare, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's mainly people that are self-insured and don't have coverage for their jobs, if I'm not mistaken. So, I don't know. I have to learn more about it, but if they're denying treatment to people that are sick just to deny it, of course, that doesn't make any sense. But I don't see that written in the law that they're going to deny people, with these death panels and all this other stuff. I don't see that.
Obamacare is affecting every single solitary American simply by the cost of prescriptions, by the change in what doctors can and cannot do, how doctors can and cannot treat you. People who had the best insurance, 5.8 million Americans lost their insurance because, God forbid, men did not have maternity care and postmenopausal women didn't have obstetric care. There is things in Obamacare that, these guys had to be drunk on something to sit down and write this stuff.
Well, in the last couple minutes we have, I want to make sure we thank Greg for being willing to step into the lion's den and give a different perspective on things.
Absolutely. Greg, this is not personal. You know that.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed the debate, and I hope on the next show that we do, I'm not in the middle of Epcot, and I can comment more intelligently and a little bit more prepared.
Love to have you. Yeah.
I also hope that next time we have you on, you can comment on things more intelligently as well.
Okay.
But for now, Greg, we're going to let you go back to the family, the change of venue in Fantasyland for you. You can put the goofy head back on and dance around Epcot Center. But we do want to thank you for being on with us today. It was great to have you here.
And Bill,
and it was great being there.
Bill, do you want to stay on? The next segment we're going to do is the big land grab expose.
Yeah, I'm very interested in what you have to say on that. So, Greg, you go have fun, and I will continue to just work.
You guys work. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, you, Greg. Greg Hansen, Wild Bill's evil liberal twin. We want to thank him for being on the show. And Diane, we are behind. We're going to have to take a quick break here. And we'll be right back with more Right Side Patriots on the CPR Worldwide Media Network.
Okay.
Citigold is an account from a global bank with over 200 years experience, offering international banking expertise across over 100 markets. Your dedicated investment consultant adds a unique personal touch to your banking experience. Complimentary lifestyle offers like Marhaba service and free global money transfers help you save on time and money. At the core of Citigold is your dedicated relationship manager, personally looking after your financial needs. Be it lifestyle privileges like golf, lounge access across the Middle East, or worldwide privileges, Citigold provides you with a rewarding experience. One card is all you need for all your Citibank accounts. As a Citigold client, you benefit from our international expertise and global reach. Citigold is more than an account. It's a personal banking service offering exceptional privileges, customer service and recognition worldwide. So wherever you are, Citigold will be with you.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Listening to the second hour of Right Side Patriots on the CPR Worldwide Media Network.
We, the people.
And we're back on Right Side Patriots. Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot and the now decaffeinated Diane Sori from the Patriot Factor. And we're back with our good friend Wild Bill Finley. And boy, what a segment! What a segment with Greg Hansen.
Hey, I like to chew up liberals and spit out the bones because they just do not have their heads on screwed right. Their heads are in the sand. They really don't realize the severity of the nature this man has put our country in. They just don't get it.
Well, and during the break between crunching on bugles and fanning herself wildly to cool down, Diane did say at one point, she says, I'm not sure he's as liberal as he thinks he is.
With certain things he said, the fact that he said, I'm willing to listen to things. Now, you don't get that all the time from liberals.
Oh, that's a fact. That's a fact. And folks, we plan on having Greg and Wild Bill back on from time to time to kind of go at some of the topics that are front and center in this world of ours. And Wild Bill, we want to thank you for sticking around with us for this segment too, because for the next hour, folks, we're going to be talking about the 4-part series that Diane and I did regarding the government land grabs.
Yeah, and it's not quite what people think it is. It's not about trespassing cattle and endangered tortoises. It's about anything but trespassing cattle and endangered tortoises.
Well, we started all this. When was it? Was it last Saturday, Diane, is when we started this?
Yes, your first article went up last Saturday.
I decided I wanted to do an article on the land grabs because of everything that had been going on out at the Bundy Ranch, and I knew there was more to it than what we were hearing and what we were seeing over in the fine state of Nevada. And I got to looking into it, and I discovered that a congressman by the name of Rob Bishop up in Utah had managed to get his hands on 14 pages of documents and emails that had been long hidden and buried by the BLM, which is the Bureau of Land Management, and the Department of the Interior. And what he found in these things was absolutely stunning. And at one point, it actually said that private land ownership, this coming directly from the Obama administration, private land ownership had become an acute problem in the United States. An acute problem, Bill. Have you ever heard such a thing?
Yeah, last time I heard it was acute appendicitis is the way it was used. An acute problem is a serious problem that has to be dealt with immediately.
Well, and that's the way this administration, the BLM as it exists today, and the Department of the Interior view private ownership of land in the United States. Now, what I found out, according to these emails that Congressman Bishop had uncovered, was that the federal government right now is going after a lot more land. Now, one of the tracts of land that they're going after is 13 million acres of land that they want to take control of that they don't have control of already. And what they do have control of already is absolutely staggering. It amounts to 260 million acres, most of that in the western United States. And Diane, as we went through these series of articles, we continually put up maps that showed what the federal government controls today, and along with some of the other things, but the map that shows what they control is staggering, especially in the West.
Exactly. It's so staggering that if you combined all the land together, because it is staggered all over, but if you combine it all together, the government owns land the size of Colorado and Wyoming put together, and that land is off limits to we the people. Public lands are off limits to we the people.
Now, let me just clarify that, because what they own is 260 million acres. What they want to do right now is the BLM and the Department of the Interior want Barack Hussein Obama to use his pen, not to go through Congress, but to use his pen in the Antiquities Act of 1906 to take 140 million of the 260 million acres. Take 140 million acres, move it from what they call mixed-use lands to treasured land status. Now, that is the part that is the combined size of Wyoming and Colorado, and that is what they want to make off limits to any private people or companies or businesses in the United States. They want to take a combined land mass, the size of Colorado and Wyoming combined, and not allow the American people on it.
Exactly. And that means any parks that are on there, any camping grounds that are on there, anything that we the people might want to go to when we're out west, we can no longer do it.
I can testify to that. When I was a deputy sheriff patrolling the mountains in Colorado, I was horrified to see the Forest Service piling huge boulders in front of roads going up into the mountains so that nobody could drive up those roads. Their justification, they did a survey up there and found that there were tire tracks on some grass here and there or something. They were worried about environmental damage. This has been going on for at least 20 years. Americans being shut out of their own public lands, some of the most beautiful lands in America, and they want to just absolutely keep we the people out.
Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that we'll get into in a little bit.
Well, as we progress through part one, what we found out was that a lot of these lands that the government is moving are not like the national parks or not like the national monuments, but more like the property that the Bundys were grazing cattle on. These are properties, these are places where nobody would ever go. It's not family vacation spots. It's not places you go to look at the beautiful scenery. It's just land, dirt, sagebrush, lots and lots of it. So as I was writing this part one, Diane and I were talking, and I said, there's got to be more to it than just the environment. There's got to be more to this. So we started to investigate, and what we found was absolutely stunning. It's not just the dirt and the turtles and the bugs and the fish and the it's not that. This goes back, and again, these emails that were uncovered by Congressman Bishop show that back in the Clinton administration, he tried to take over 1.7 million acres, which seems paltry by comparison. But he tried to take over 1.7 million acres, and under that land in Utah was the largest untapped clean coal reserve in the United States and quite possibly in the world. And when he was questioned on that, he came out, Clinton came out and said, look, mining is good, mining jobs are good jobs, but we can't have mining everywhere. We need to protect our treasured lands. And there's that term, treasured lands. All right. That was followed up by an email, again, uncovered by Congressman Bishop, where somebody, the chair of his, I guess it was environmental committee, the chair of Clinton's Environmental Committee, literally wrote in an email, these lands are not really endangered. So that's what put up the red flag to Diane and to myself, and we said, let's go looking, let's go digging and start connecting the dots on this. And what came of all this was a 4-part series. Now, as we moved into part 2 of the series, knowing now that it has nothing to do with the environment, just like every time the liberals want to pass a bill, they say, oh, we got to do it for the children. Well, protect the environment is their clarion call. It's a BS cover. That's all it is. They're just covering themselves because they know that it's got nothing to do with what they say it's got to do with.
Exactly.
So we start looking around, we start digging around, and we find that not only are these lands, especially in the western part of the United States, so heavily controlled by the federal government, but also underneath that dirt that they so want us to believe they're protecting, there lies natural gas deposits, and lots of them. And with today's technology, you can go in there and frack that stuff and get it out and do very, very minimal impact to the area around where you're fracking.
Did he say the F word?
I did.
Yes, he did.
I did. I said fracking.
Do people know that fracking has been around since the 1940s and has never caused an environmental problem?
But the liberals say it has.
Oh, well, if the liberals say it, it's got to be true.
That's about as well.
I just had to get that in there.
No, look, Bill, that's about as well put as I've heard it. But by fracking, we can get that stuff out. So we thought, okay, if there's natural gas out there, and we know there's coal out there because of this uncovered email and the 1.7 million acres that set right over a coal deposit. So now we've got coal, we've got natural gas, and we thought, well, what else might be out there? Lo and behold, there's oil shale in a lot of these lands where the federal government is in control right now. And we keep putting up the maps throughout the series of articles. And the maps, they show you where the coal is, they show you where the natural gas is, they show you where the oil shale is. And when you compare that to the map that shows what the federal government owns, they match up perfectly.
Exactly. And it gets even worse than that. But let's finish part 2 first. And folks, remember this word treasure. There's a reason it's called treasure.
That's right. That's right. So we start thinking about this, and we think, well, this administration, this regime is all about green energy, and they're spending billions and hundreds of billions of dollars on these green energy things. Okay. We all know about Solyndra. There's Amonex, there's Babcock and Brown, there's Beacon Power, Bright Source Energy. I've got the list of them in the article, and the exposure to the American taxpayers: 249 million, 400 million, 21.6 million, 178 million, 43 million, 1.6 billion. Okay, the list goes on and on. You look at where these companies were in May of 2012. Distress, bankrupt, distress, bankrupt, distress, bankrupt. You look at where they are today, and those that were in distress before are now bankrupt. Those that were okay before are now in distress. Those that were in distress are failing. All this money is being thrown away, and there's got to be a reason for it. What we discovered is that the American dollar is being propped up not by gold reserves, folks, but by foreign oil and the American military-industrial complex. Those are the only two things right now that are backing up the American dollar. Foreign oil, as in OPEC, and other nations that produce oil that don't like us, where we get oil, they want to dump the dollar as their exchange rate. They want to go to the euro. They want to go to maybe a grab basket, maybe the yen in there. So as long as we can keep them supporting the American dollar will be worth something. But the problem is, as long as federal government continues to print dollars on a printing press 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, they are devaluing every single dollar. That's why OPEC keeps raising the price of a barrel of crude, because they're making up for the depreciation of the American dollar that is being engineered by our federal government. Now, at the appropriate time, our government can tell OPEC, we're going to tap these energy reserves, at which point our dollar will fail. But then the federal government, because they sit on all these lands in the West, they will have control, complete control over domestic energy production, output, and consumption. That means you. The federal government will be able to tell you how much gas you can put in your car and when you can put it in your car. They will tell you what kind of car you have to have so it doesn't burn as much gas. They can tell you how much water you get to drink or pour on your yard or water your garden with. They can tell you how warm you can keep your house, what kind of insulation value you have to have, how much money you have to spend, and how you can cool your house. It puts the government in control. And that is what Diane and I discovered. This is about control of us, of the American people. And if you're a liberal and you're listening, and we know you are, this is about the federal government regardless of who is in control of it, controlling you regardless of which side of the aisle you vote from. And when we bring these things up, what we're trying to do is instill upon you that we are fighting for your rights, even though you're liberals, as much as we're fighting for our rights because we're conservatives. This is about getting the federal government the hell out of our business. Now, from there, we continued to look. We kept comparing the maps. And every time Diane pulled up a map, she said, oh my God, it's in the same place. Oh my God, it matches the other maps. And, Diane and I were constantly talking back and forth all weekend long as we built this series of articles. And we've been doing this research before we started the articles. And it just became astounding to us what we were finding out there. And Bill, I know that you, above all people, you have spent time in the West. You worked in the law enforcement in the West. You have seen these things, and you understand the dire nature of government control over the people.
I am concerned about how in the world the federal government got so much control over state land anyway. Who gave them those millions of acres? Did they buy it? Did they purchase? What was the price? I mean, did we just give it away, or was it just simply taken by political force?
Well,
what has happened to the power of the states?
I think more by political force and extortion. I wrote an article a few weeks ago about extortion. And what the federal government has done with the states, especially out west, is they tell them, look, we'll give you money for your infrastructure. We'll help repair your bridges, and we'll help build you a new road and maybe a new interstate and an overpass here and there. And we'll help you with your dams and your levees and all of that. But in return, what we want is that little piece of land over there, and we'll take this one over here, and why don't you throw in that one for good measure? And every time a state went back to the federal government and said, we need more help with our infrastructure, they took a little bit more land. This is a decades-old problem. This is nothing new. This is not the Obama administration doing this. I mean, they've raised it to an art form in this administration, but this has been going on for decades and decades and decades. And every time one of the states, in my case, Arizona, over the last few years, we keep saying we want to take our land back, and the federal government under this Obama regime says, fine, you do that, you're cut off, and you will get no more help with your infrastructure needs.
But
so they've literally got us over a barrel.
There is one part, though, that is directly tied to Obama, and that I'll bring up in the next segment. Yes, this has gone on for decades and under other presidents, but Obama has put it to a high art form, very calculating, very devious art form.
Okay, so what we're going to do here, folks, we're going to take a quick break, a couple of minutes early here, because the next two parts of the series, the rest of the show, is going to be dedicated to what else we discovered on these lands and why this is so dire and why it comes home to each and every individual American, whether you live anywhere near these quote-unquote treasured lands or not. And what we found out there was absolutely earth-shattering. So let's just do a real quick recap. We know that they're sucking up lands, the federal government is, where coal, natural gas, and oil shale are located. Okay, so those are some real primary energy sources that we could tap and become energy independent. And it would only work out well for us, the American people, if private companies were allowed to handle this. The way the government is setting this up is so that only they can determine it, and they will also, by determining production, will also determine the price. Okay, so that's where we're going to leave this segment. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more on Right Side Patriots.
I believe that every single one of us has what it takes
to win back-to-back gold.
Ski faster than any other human.
I believe it's possible to overcome fear.
I believe
it's possible to destroy stereotypes.
To start over, to be the toughest,
the strongest,
the bravest in the world. And when we work together, we can make it all possible. That's why Citi has donated $500,000 through its Every Step of the Way program, an initiative created to help future athletes reach their full potential through sport programs that inspire us. Like figure skating in Harlem.
Like youth enrichment services. Like Team for Tomorrow.
The Team USA Stay on the Slopes initiative. Now spread the word and help decide how much of that money goes toward
offering personal support and financial assistance to Olympians in need.
Promoting the growth of hockey in the U.S.
Expanding the sport of luge into new regions.
Support for wounded service members. Join Team Citi and let's turn a world of potential into reality.
Go to citi.com/everystep and help decide where the money goes.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
I woke up this morning with a buzz rolling round in my brain. I haven't been drinking, but it feels pretty good just the same. It must be contagious, it looks like it's going around. It's cool once you catch it, can't keep your feet on the ground. This world. From Utah to Texas, Minnesota, Mississippi too. Or Nevada, no matter where you live, this buzz is for you. out of this world. Plugging in the power, cranking up the sound. It's coming your direction, it's headed to your town. We're kicking up dust, blowing off steam. Let's get nuts now, everybody scream. We're gonna rock this country. We're gonna rock this country. This world. Get ready, we're coming.
And we're back on Right Side Patriots. Craig Andreessen from the National Patriot, Diane Sori from the Patriot Factor, and Bill Finley from Wild Bill for America. And we're talking about our nation's federal government land grabs. Now, we left off just a couple of minutes ago with natural gas, oil shale, and coal being on a lot of the western lands out there that the federal government is already in control of and wants to be in control of. But, Diane, that's not all we found.
No, it's not. Folks, think about the word treasure. Certain minerals come to mind when you think of the word treasure. Well, guess what's on that land that the feds want to grab up? And they want it desperately. The treasure of all treasures, uranium. You lay over the maps, wherever the uranium deposits are, is where the feds want the land. Uranium is one of the most precious elements on Earth, and it's primarily used, number one, the generation of nuclear power. Number two, it's used in nuclear weapons. The main component of America's nuclear arsenal is buried under the surface of the lands the feds are trying to grab up. But because Obama has put a moratorium on building nuclear plants because he's cut back our nuclear arsenal. We have no use for that uranium. Now, here's where the nefarious part comes in. What's going to happen with that uranium? Why does he still want the lands that have the uranium on it when we could use that uranium to build more nuclear plants and cut our dependence on Arab oil? Well, he doesn't want to do that. Of course not. That's his brethren. But it goes deeper than that. Think about this for a minute, folks. There's one country in the world that is building 49% of all the world's reactors that are under construction. It's one country and one country alone. We're building 2%. This country is building 49%. And that country is China. China will benefit from our uranium at the expense of the American people. And why are they going to why is this uranium going to go to China? It's very simple, folks. Very, very simple. China needs the uranium because they need to get up the energy needs for their growing populace. Remember, China is the most populous country on the planet. So they need to build more and more and more plants. Now, enter center stage the U.S. With our deposits of uranium under the surface of the lands the feds are trying to grab up, and with the U.S., here it comes, folks, And with the U.S. owing China huge sums of money, you just know that once the feds own that land and deny us access, they can actually shut down that land, and suddenly the Obama administration will allow China to mine our uranium to pay off America's notes due to them.
Now,
remember,
here's something else you got to keep in mind, and this is something that Diane and I found. We thought, well, why in the world would China want our uranium? Don't they have uranium?
They have uranium, but the problem with their uranium is it's embedded in their coal. To get that uranium out of the coal would be cost prohibitive. So they have been importing uranium from other countries for years. But the United States has one of the biggest deposits of it, and they hold our notes due. So by holding our notes due, they can say, hey, we'll bring down what you owe us, you give in the uranium. And what's funny is that these uranium deposits sit right near the natural gas deposits and the shale oil deposits. So we can give them our oil, our natural gas, our uranium, keeps us dependent on Obama's Muslim brethren, but it also helps to pay down our debt at our expense.
Now,
because we're staying dependent on foreign oil.
Diane is absolutely correct. And Wild Bill, you may be also shocked to learn what we learned in connecting the dots on these land grabs, how our uranium may well be shipped over to China. And believe me, when we found this out, we just about fell off our chairs.
Okay, it gets even better, folks. Okay, normally we import and export uranium just like we import and export everything, and all other countries do the same thing. However, instead of selling our uranium outright, we instead export a large amount of it to Canada. Now, Canada deals directly in uranium imports with China. But here's the caveat. We're exporting our uranium to Canada. They, in turn, are importing uranium back to us and possibly taking our uranium and selling it to Canada. It's like a vicious circle. It makes no sense because why are we exporting to Canada what is being imported directly right back to us? And it's simple. Canada might, and this is just a supposition, might be acting as a straw man, if you will, for our uranium to be sent directly to mainland China, not having to go through in small quantities through Taiwan. Remember, Taiwan became part of China again, and we always have sold certain amounts of uranium to Taiwan, but now Canada can take it and sell it directly to China in major sums because they already sell uranium to China. So why not sell them our exported uranium too and then ship us their uranium for what we need? This way, the feds make money, lots of unreported money, Canada makes money, and China is happy that they don't have to go through the costly expense of refining it from their coal deposits, which would add to the pollution problem. So, Obama is actually reveling in selling us out to China to pay off the debts he's run up. And an added bonus to him is by doing so, he gets to keep us dependent on his brethren's oil for decades to come. And what's even more suspicious about this, on these same lands is an element called thorium. We are the largest source of thorium in the world. China is working on a uranium-free nuclear plant that's run on thorium. It's cheaper, it's environmentally cleaner, yet it's still radioactive enough to power a nuclear plant. So, not only would they get our uranium, but they would get our thorium as well.
Bill, did you have
Because
any
we're
idea?
not building plants.
Did you have any?
I had no idea about the Canada connection, but I'm not surprised. Americans have got to start taking a stand for our national security. One of the most dangerous things we can do is keep ourselves dependent on foreign oil. And for crying out loud, has anybody ever thought that maybe this uranium is going to be enhancing our enemy's nuclear capabilities? For Pete's sakes, Nancy Pelosi, San Francisco might get incinerated unless you wake up.
Now, here's something else along those lines that Bill just said. Okay, let's say our uranium is going there from Canada or from wherever. China is a direct trading partner with Iran. Now, let's say China doesn't use all the uranium that's going into them. They could very well trade it or sell it to Iran. Just think of that, folks. Our uranium could be going to build Iran's nuclear bombs.
Folks,
Scary,
if that doesn't
huh?
scare the absolute tar out of you, I don't know what will. And, the idea that, Diana and I are connecting these dots. These are dots that are out there. Now, we had to dig hard. We had to look deep to find some of these connections. And we had to do things that most people either don't have the capability of doing in connecting the dots or simply can't do, okay, or won't do. But we were able to uncover these things. These are facts. Our government is exporting uranium to Canada. Canada is exporting uranium to us. We ship uranium directly to Taiwan. Canada ships uranium directly to China. There's the natural gas deposits, coal deposits. There's the oil shale deposits out there. These are all primary sources of domestic energy that our government is controlling the lands that these are on and under. Therefore, they control our ability to be energy independent or dependent on the government.
And here's something else that'll raise your ire in connection with this. The BLM claims that they're grabbing these lands to keep them environmentally safe, to protect endangered species. But folks, that's a lie, as the major Arizona 1 mine is producing uranium in northern Arizona on land managed by the BLM itself. It was originally approved by the BLM in 1988. This mine has been in active production since 2009, producing up to 300 tons of ore per day that is processed at the White Mesa Mill by Energy Fuels Inc., a Canadian company that does business with China.
You got that, folks? They're already doing it. They're not protecting the environment out there. They're mining the ore, the uranium ore from out there, and they're refining it through a company that has holdings in Canada and does direct business with China. But Diane, we've only got about 10 minutes left in the show.
And we got a major bomb to drop on you if you think that was something.
Now, the other day when we're doing all this, Diane and I said, I read something the other day about something they're finding out in Yellowstone. They're having these earthquakes out in Yellowstone, and the ground is rising up, and there's new fissures in the ground that are opening up. And what these fissures are venting is what everybody considers to be party supplies. Helium, folks. These things are venting helium. So I say to Diane, I said, let's look and see if there's also helium out in these western lands that the federal government is snapping up and putting off limits to all Americans. And wouldn't you know it, wherever you find natural gas deposits and wherever you find uranium deposits, you also find helium. Now, folks, this is where this comes into play in your homes, in your lives as individuals. This isn't about exporting an ore from here to there to the other place, okay? What Diane's going to tell you right now brings this home in the most personable way possible. Diane?
Okay, what the helium affects, and it affects every single man, woman, and child in this country, is helium is critical to the functioning of Obamacare. Yes, folks, helium. Let me explain. The healthcare industry uses helium to detect, diagnose, and treat many diseases and conditions like heart disease, asthma, cancer, and for burn patients. And it's used in the field of cryogenics as its primary coolant for, are you ready for this? The MRI machines used to detect disease or injury, and it's also used for cooling tissue samples that are taken during surgery, what's known as frozen sections that are needed for diagnosis. And folks, there's no substitute for helium in cryogenics, period, none at all. Now think, who needs MRIs and surgery the most? Except for those injured, let's say in an accident, it's the elderly and the seriously ill. Now under Obamacare, the use of MRIs and the use of the amount of surgical procedures allowed, both dependent on helium, have been cut. Cut MRI testing, cut the number of surgical procedures allowed, or simply cut the helium supply needed for both, and you have basically doomed the elderly and the seriously ill to death. It's Obama's culling of the herd, and it continues on. And even if the feds were to privatize helium, what with the current government reserves are running low, and with delays in new helium gathering plants coming online because of restrictions on helium withdrawals from the government's gas pipelines, new areas where helium is found must be grabbed up, post haste. Areas like in Colorado and Texas. And isn't it a happy coincidence that a helium gathering plant is being built in Wyoming on BLM-owned land? He who controls helium controls basically the medical industry. The feds can control the price of helium needed for diagnostic testing, needed in frozen sections. You don't just go in surgery, for the hell of it. You're going in to find something, repair something. You need frozen sections. You don't have the helium for that. You don't have the frozen sections. You don't have the surgery. You die. This is in Obamacare, folks. MRIs are being cut. Surgical procedures are being cut. They are being held to certain numbers. And why? Because the government controls the helium.
The government controls the land. And the government wants to control every drop of water. The government controls the lands where resources can be found that would make us energy independent. This is about government control of the people, of individual people in the United States. And it doesn't matter if you vote Democrat or if you, vote Republican. It simply doesn't matter. The federal government, regardless of who is in control of it at the moment, wants to control each and every American citizen. Bill,
and here's
did you ever think it would come to that?
Oh, Craig, as America's leading liberalologist, I've been preaching the message for years that total domination of the American people is the ultimate goal of the liberal left. I think it was Saul Alinsky who said that if you control the healthcare, you control the people.
And here's something else that's found along with it. It's an element that nobody's ever heard of. It's called vanadium. Now, vanadium is used in the treatment of diabetes, low blood sugar, high cholesterol, heart disease, and a number of other medical conditions. And it's also sold as a nutritional supplement. The only vanadium mine in the U.S., guess what, folks? It's on BLM land. And if too many people need this vanadium-based medicine, rationing of it cannot be far behind. Rationing, courtesy again of the 15 Obamacare bureaucrats deciding who is worthy of said medicine and who is not. And guess who the nots will be? The elderly, for sure. This is the culling of the herd through Obamacare, through the control of federal lands.
Not only does the federal government want to control our energy resources, they want to control our water, and they want to control our lives. And when it comes down to it, they are going to control whether or not we live, folks. Diane and I started this land grab series, the 4-part series, to connect the dots on why the government is grabbing up so much land in the western United States. And when we got done, when we finished connecting the dots, the picture just got uglier and uglier. And when we started this, we thought it was about the land. By the time we finished, it wound up being the land, the energy resources, all the way to Obamacare. It's absolutely stunning what we were able to find out and what we uncovered in this expose.
Exactly. And remember, folks, like Craig said, it is the land, it is all of the others, but it's what's under the land. This land on top, for the most part, is desolate sagebrush, grasslands. It's not lands that you'd want to take your family to. This is the most desolate of desolates. Why would our government be interested in it if not for devious purposes? Well, we uncovered those devious purposes. It has to do with nuclear. It has to do with uranium. It has to do with controlling the medical care. We never in a million years thought we'd find a connection to Obamacare. And there it is, folks. It's plain as the nose on your face. They need certain things, helium specifically. They need it for Obamacare because they can use helium to control who lives and who dies, who gets surgery, who doesn't. It's time to wake up, folks. It's really time.
Well, and I'll tell you what, if you missed the series, it's still available on both of our blogs. You can go to Diane's blog, thepatriotfactor.blogspot.com, or you could go to my blog, The National Patriot. And if you go straight to the one you see that's the Land Grabs Part 4, Parts 1, 2, and 3 are linked in the top of that Part 4 article. And I would advise that you read them in order so you can see the progression of this and how Diane and I came across all this information. It's absolutely stunning. And, check out all 4, share them everywhere. It's already gone viral. The series has gone viral. Diane and I printed the exact same articles in both of our blogs so that we would reach a broader audience. And that's why we spent an hour talking about it on the show here today on Right Side Patriots, because you need to know what the federal government is doing. If we're going to take this country back, we have to understand how far we have to go and the depths that this government has already gone to take it away from us. Right, Bill? I don't know if we've still got Bill with us or not, Diane, but I just got to tell you, it's a stunning expose. But next week on Right Side Patriots, Diane, we've got another great show lined up.
Oh, we sure do. Go ahead, Craig. Tell them about it.
Well, we have made contact with Colonel Jim Harding. Now, Colonel Harding is a very well-decorated colonel from the United States Air Force. He served in Vietnam. He served, literally right up to the last couple of years. And his retirement, let's say, was probably not so much his idea as it was this administration's idea. Now, he has gone into in-depth on this Benghazi situation. He's read the Benghazi series that Diane and I did a few weeks ago. He told us on the phone the other day that we were spot on with this. So now we've been told by Lieutenant Colonel Alan West and now by Colonel Jim Harding that we nailed this Benghazi thing. But Colonel Harding is also a great expert on the Muslim problem that we're having in the United States. And folks, if you don't think we've got one, you're going to want to think again. Now, next Wednesday, we're going to be joined by Colonel Harding right here on the show, and we're going to cover a lot of ground with this man.
Yes, a lot. And remember, this man was connected to the military hierarchy, and he's no longer connected to it because of Obama.
And he's not afraid to speak out.
And he's not afraid to speak out, and that is absolutely critical. We need men like this to speak out, because maybe then America will wake up We're doing what we can. Other people are doing what they can. But we still have the sheeple. We still have the apathetic that just don't get it.
Well, we're going to try and help them. And first of all, we want to thank Wild Bill for America for being with us for so much of the show today. Bill, thank you again for joining us on Right Side Patriots.
Always a pleasure. I am really looking forward to hearing what Major Harding has to say.
Well, and we also want to thank Greg Hansen, Wild Bill's evil liberal twin, for joining us from Fantasyland. He's actually, literally Fantasyland. And look, we're going to have the two of those guys back on together again and again because people need to know what's going on out there. But Diane, we have plumb run out of time on the show today.
Oh, my God. We just flapped away, didn't we?
Well, we did. But, folks, we'll be back on Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern. And we're going to give you a little bit of Leonard Skinner, That Ain't My America. And then we're going to leave you in the very capable hands of Matt Chen this afternoon. So, folks, thanks for joining us on Right Side Patriots. We'll see you Saturday with the live call-in show.
Sometimes I wanna light up underneath the no smoking sign. Sometimes I wish they'd tell me how justice got so blind. I wish they'd just leave me alone, 'cause I'm doing alright. You can take your change on down the road and leave me here with mine. 'Cause that ain't my America, that ain't this country's roots. You wanna slam old Uncle Sam, but I ain't letting you. I'm mad as hell and you know I still bleed red, white, and blue. They ain't us, that ain't my America. That ain't my America. Yeah, I was standing there in Dallas, waiting on a plane. I overheard an old man tell a young soldier thanks. The young soldier hung his head and said, "It's hard to believe you're the only one who took the time to say a word to me." And the old man said, "That ain't my America, that ain't this country's roots. You wanna slam old Uncle Sam, but I ain't letting you. Yeah, I'm mad as hell and you know I still bleed red, white, and blue. They ain't us, that ain't my America. That ain't my America." It's to the women and men in their hands that hold a Bible and a gun, and they ain't afraid of nothing when they're holding either one. Now there's kids that can't pray in school, $100 tanks of gas. I can tell you right now, this country ain't supposed to be like that.